Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What's up, friends? Welcome back to the TV Terminal. My name is Adam Vale, senior editor over at the Koalition with a K.com.
My name is Joshua Lamage, writer for the Koalition.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Because it's true. The Koalition, there is with a C,
with the K,
and
with the
they're
K.
the ones that do Gears of War. And then people said, "Man, you don't make Gears of War." Well, yeah. So what? You got the tattoo? Why are you freaking the funk? You don't do that. No. It's with a K. It's with a K. And in fact, Koalition with the K, our site was done first before the Koalition was created because it was a different studio, and they changed the name. And once you change the name, and Rich and I, we knew that this is it. We're gonna get all kinds of crazy shit, and we did for a while. It was a mess. But anyway, yes, we are back with Monarch season 2, episode 6, Requiem. Interesting episode. It's getting, the story's progressing, it's moving, but I don't know. We'll get into it. We talked about some of our issues with the time jumps and then just the way things are jumping back and forth and traveling, and it's like, I don't know. It's a little bit all over the place, but
I didn't hate the episode. It just seems like
it's a build-up episode. This is definitely, it's building up to obviously the big fight, right? No surprise. If you've seen this episode, then you know what we're talking about. It's building up to some, hopefully, a fight with Godzilla and Titan X. That's the plan.
Or Kong and Titan X,
right? Or Kong, or whoever,
or maybe
King
no one's gonna
bring
fight
everybody.
Maybe
and nobody fights. It's just humans freaking out, and we never see anything. I don't see that ever happening on this, but I've seen so many other monster shows where they do that just because of the budgetary reasons. They can't afford to have a big monster or anything.
The monster is fear itself.
Oh, how about Lost? Case in point, Lost, the smoke monster. We never see it. And then they never did it. We hear it when everyone was running from it, but it wasn't there. But anyway, let's just jump in.
All right. So the episode starts 2 weeks prior to these events, and we see Kong just walking around on Skull Island, just surveying the area, and we see Kentaro hiding in a bush, and he's doodling a bunch of sketches, really good drawings of Kong, different angles and stuff. And then Kong looks at him. They make eye contact, and Kong roars a little bit.
Up. He was like, "Oh, yeah, no, good job." It might as well because he looks at him and then he's like, "All right, enough of that. Go off." True. It's like they have a relationship. It's similar to how we saw with what was it? Which version was it? Skull Island or just Kong with the little girl? Remember that spoke sign language and she did the whole thing and she was communicating with Kong. Yeah. It wasn't one of those, but go ahead.
But Kentaro runs away. He runs through. He's creeped out. He gets back to the base and he sneaks under the wired fence, the electric fence, and then all of a sudden Hiroshi shows up and he's like, were you out there alone? Like, what do you think you were doing? And this and that. And he's like, I was drawing. And he shows him his book. He hands it over to him, and Hiroshi looks through it and he admires the photos. And then and then he hands him a beer. They share like a little moment, and they start talking about time and how hopefully what they're gonna do tomorrow will help bring Kate back. And Kentaro's like, well, I mean, like, it's been 2 years. I don't know. And then Hiroshi drops a bomb on all of us, and he says, well, I mean, when I was in Alaska, I found a rift, and it brought me to, I guess, Axis Mundi or something. And he went through the rift. And what he thought was 2 days ended up being a whole year.
And he said Africa. He ended up in Africa. Now, we saw the first season, and yes, they found him in Alaska, and there was a Titan. It was very cool, all this stuff. He didn't mention any of this. And even Kentaro says, how come you didn't bring this up? I didn't want you to come after me. I was like, you can't drop something like that, halfway through season 2, after the fact that you passed away, and this is a memory. So that means that Kentaro knew all this and didn't say anything to Kate, to Kiko, to Sean, nothing. Kept this also as a secret. I don't know. No, I'm not buying that. I don't like this. This upset me because this is important information. Because the whole time before they were like, "Oh, this is new. What, you go somewhere and this and this and that." He acts like he was shocked by all of this. But if you've already done this, then no, you're not shocked.
Maybe at the time he was still having trouble understanding this whole aspect.
No,
maybe
what
he would. I don't know, but yeah,
it's
it's a little bit weird.
it's got to come up in another way. There's a reason why they added this scene in the way they did. I was like, okay, so this has to tie in with something else that's going to happen with Kentaro.
They have a funeral for Hiroshi, and they do a whole, I guess, Japanese ceremony funeral. Um, Hiroshi's cremated, and he's in a box, and Kei puts his body into the ash, well, his ashes into the, into the ground. And then an old man approaches Lee, and he's like, "Oh, is this the funeral for Hiroshi?" And he's like,
He's
"Wait,
like, no, that's down the hall, down the block. No.
familiar."
No.
And we've seen this guy before. It's Dr. Suzuki, which they call him Zook. He's an
Yeah.
old man now, and he's confused. He sees Lee, and then he sees Kay, and it's like this whole thing.
Yeah, because they should all be old, even older, and because of the whole situation and the time jumps and all that stuff, and then with Kiko being stuck over there for as long as she has and came out, remember, from the 50s, and then you come out and you look no different than when the last time you saw her, but actually he's old, and even Shaw had an issue when he came back, and he still doesn't. He's old, but he's not as old as he's supposed to be.
True. So then Kentaro has a little scene with Kate, and she's like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't expect him to follow me out there when the Titan came out." And he's like, "What do you expect? Like, why did you walk out to it?" And she's like, I had no like control over my body. Like, and he's like, "Well, he's like, I guess not really." He's indirectly blaming her for this situation in a sense, and he has some frustrations going on. And then Kiko comes over.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
have to, and we brought it up in the last video. It's like she must have been drawn to it, because I can't imagine why anyone would want to be like, wow, look at that big creature. Let me go and talk to it. Yeah, she's been hearing signals and stuff, right? But it's because it's calling to her. It's pulling her in. So I can understand also his frustration. It's like he would be alive if you didn't go out there, which is true.
Kay walks over and she's like, "Look, like, no matter who did this or who is to blame, like, we can't be fighting each other. We have to work together." But Kentaro walks off. He doesn't care. Dr. Suzuki walks up, and he's in shock to see Kiko so young, and he wishes
It's a
things were different.
pearl cream.
And he sees Kate, and he's like, "Oh, your father told me all about you." And everyone's surprised that Hiroshi spent time with him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like we were working on some stuff together, and you know, yeah, come back to my place so you could come see it." And Lee's like, "Yeah, I think we should. Like, maybe we should. We'll hang out there and exchange stories about Hero." And it's like, but he always has an ulterior motive, right? So
yeah, and then going through all this, and then how we find that he has another device similar to what Hero had. This is actually where Hero got the idea to create the sonar. He called it at the time, when we get there, the Titan phone, right? That's what he had called it. But then I'm thinking this all up now, because later on it comes up about Back to the Future. Remember, May was like, "Oh, I was sick with the flu. You came over, Kentaro," and the whole thing. And it's the same thing with the story of Back to the Future. I was like, "Oh, how are we gonna get there? I gotta find Doc Brown. I gotta find someone. Remember, you create this. You could do it again." Well, here we go. Kentaro's gone. All the devices destroyed. What are we gonna do? Wait, we got this older guy here, and he has the original type device that Hero was basing his technology off of. We can still do this. So yeah, it's all full circle.
Yeah, good catch with that, because
damn right. See, I told you I'm not as sharp as a marble. I got it. I know.
You're not as sharp as a marble.
All right.
All right, so we cut back to 1958. They're in Arlington, Virginia. Day one at Monarch, or their new offices. So they walk in, Kiko and Billy show up, and they find out they have a secretary, and they have their big offices.
They all get one.
Yeah,
secretary for you. Secretary for you. Remember, he was like, "Oh, what secretary? Yeah, don't worry, yours is out getting coffee or something." I'm like, really? Do they all need secretaries? I thought they were a team. Whatever.
Well, I think that was the weird part about it, because you see Kay's face, like, when she finds out that Billy has a secretary, she's like, and they're like, "Oh, yours is doing something, like you have one too." But they walk into their offices, and they see a map on the wall, and they're talking about the Titan X, and hopefully they could track it, or like, when is it going to come back? They, just sharing a conversation about it. And then Lee walks in, full general outfit, and he's like, just gotta see you guys one more time. And he tells them that he has requested to work somewhere else, to work under another general pocket.
He's leaving him. Yep. I mean, I saw this coming. I'm sure a lot of people did. Once he walked in with the suit and all that, I was like, okay, well, this is it. He's gonna leave because remember, he just had the whole issue with Kiko and the letter and all that drama, and he's like, no, it's gonna be awkward. And he's done with it, and that's his whole thing. He needs it. And it's funny, Bill's like, "Oh, why are you doing this now?" I wish he would have said something. It was like, "Well, I'm in love with your wife, and there's a complicated situation. You know how it is. Hey, drink up, buddy. It's over. I'm going." But
he says this thing where it's like he's because Billy was like, "Well, I thought you were happy here," and Kay doesn't really fight this situation. She knows obviously, so she's like looking between the two. But
well,
he's like,
that way she was kind of shocked because remember she was like, "I'm gonna call the general now or the big boss."
well,
Remember she was
yeah,
like,
she
"I'm
was
gonna
shocked,
call
but
him."
she didn't try to persuade him because she understood the underlying issue.
Oh yeah.
But she they were like, "Well, I thought you were happy here," and he's like, "It's not about if I'm happy or not. It's about what's best for Monarch. It's what's best for us." And then they cheers. And drinking comes up into this episode too a little bit, but they cheers. He has that moment with them, and then he leaves.
Yeah. Then this happened, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are watching and was like, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Because it's Kentaro. Because May shows up at Kentaro's apartment in Japan. Okay, she didn't show up at the funeral, but she shows up at his apartment in Japan. Now, everything that took place before on it was in Chile, right? That was the last time they saw each other because she was there with Brenda and Apex in Chile, and then they all escaped because Titan X and all that stuff. So from Chile, did she take a direct flight to Japan, or did she go back to the States, which is in Florida, where Apex is based out of, and then go to Japan? There's a lot of traveling in this episode. This show does a lot of it in general, but even more so for the common people. We made a whole big thing about the group traveling from Florida to Japan and that freight thing. We just we filled in a blank. We're like, you know what? Tim is providing this. This is Monarch helping. Well, who's helping pay for May's flights from Chile
She got those Apex points.
She's got the Apex flying points. She has to, because that just seems... It's just a stretch. I get it. We see this all the time. All shows do this. It's not just to them that they have to get characters in certain points in certain locations at certain times. I get it, but there's no fluid connection.
I'm just surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised that May showed up here because especially since she was leaning towards Apex a little more in the last episode, and the whole thing with Brenda and all that calamity that happened. But she shows up at Kentaro's and she's like, "I'm so sorry about what happened. I couldn't make the funeral, but I'm here." And he's like, "You know what? Let's go out. Let's go to drinks." So he wants to go to this place called Saito's, which is a place he used to frequent. They get there. They find out it's under new management. He's a little annoyed by that. But they shared like little moments where they were walking through Japan and having conversations about their friendship and the things they experienced together. And then even at the bar, she was like, "I had the flu and you came and you brought me ramen. And we watched Back to the Future, all 3 episodes each night." All three,
the trilogy 3 times. That's a lie. That's a lie. No, that's a little bit too much. You can watch all 3. I've done that, but 3 times. Come on.
I think she just meant they watched them each day.
They
watched it 3 times each. No,
yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But
no, they did a marathon each day. They watched they watched a movie each day. That's what I took from it, because that'd be absolutely insane to watch that many times. And then I guess like Kentaro was kind of reading into it a little bit more. I mean, I took it as she was slightly flirtatious. I don't know.
Put in the comments, people. What do you think? I would have picked up the same signs. I don't know if I would have rushed in like that, but I probably would have asked a little more like, what's really going on here? Because there was a thing with them, and then there was also a thing with May and Kate. So it's like, but he rushed in, he leaned in for the kiss. You're like, whoa, what are you doing? He said, wait, I'm bad. All right, my bad. You're wrong sibling. I guess you want my sister. He just calls it out.
What he says, yeah.
Yeah. And
like, even though she like, I don't know if she wants you. And then she's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave you to it, and you have your own space. Then we time jump again. It's 1958, and Lee shows up at his dad's apartment because his dad's on the same base too, and he's like, "Oh wow, I haven't seen you in 5 years. Like, let's catch up. Like, what happened with Monarch? Why'd you leave?" He's like, "Either you fought someone or you fornicated with somebody. Which one was it?" And he's like, "Oh, come on, like it doesn't have to be that." And he's like, "Which one was it?" And he's like, "It was a colleague."
Yeah, comes clean.
He's like, "She was the most brilliant person I ever met," and then he's like, "Oh, and there's someone in the way." And he's like, "The second most brilliant person I ever met."
And he stepped aside, and he was like, "All right, good, drink up." It's like, okay, and he drinks, and they drink.
He's like,
They
"I only
talk.
have one drink. I have a meeting with General Puckett in the morning. I want to be sharp." And he's like, "No,
Mhm.
like let's have a drink." And then yeah, they get at it, I
It
guess.
was
And
all intentional. The dad knew what he was doing. We find out later, but his whole thing was to get his son drunk. Who does that? What kind of parent, But he had his own agenda. He wants to get him into a different program in the military.
sneaky, especially after 5 years not
Yeah,
talking. That's weird.
yeah. That's kind of rough. You don't do that.
I mean, I think we have a slide of him, yeah, sitting with his
Yeah.
dad.
Send with the dad. Dad. Mhm. Go
So
ahead.
then the next scene, we cut to Kiko, Kate, Lee, and Zook. They're at Zook's house and they're having dinner. Um, and they're talking about why Zook got kicked out of Monarch. He tried this whole time dilation machine thing and it went wrong, and so they kicked him out. And it wasn't until I guess Hiroshi hit him up and kind of reinvigorated his ideas, and they started working on things. And so like Shaw was like interested in the conversation. He goes to grab another drink. It was a weird little aspect where the like Kiko was noticing him drinking. What's the deal with that?
It's because of the drinking, and he had a drinking issue. But then when he
He
goes,
sobered
he
up
says,
though, right?
yeah. And then he said, "All right, well, I was going to top everyone off. Yeah, we don't have it. Oh, no, there's more in the other room." He goes in the other room, he pours it out, and then he says, "No, I want the good stuff." And then Zuko's like,
So that was just to
"Oh,
get him
yeah,
out to talk to him, right? Got
yeah,
it.
just to get him out so he can go and talk, so they can get more into it because it's like, all right, well, what do you want to talk about?" And he was like, "Oh, about the whole thing with the device. What's really going on here? What's really happening?" Because remember, he said, "Oh, I was working on it, I can't do anything." "Oh, well, you know what? Let's go see my tomatoes." And it's like, oh, in the tomatoes
I
is
see.
his workshop, and he had all the other stuff, and that was the device that he was, the Titan phone that he was working on. It was like a
It's
modified
funny.
version of that one.
It's funny because they
Mhm.
were being sneaky about this, or at least Shaw was being sneaky about this, and then Zook caught on, and then it's like they just knew that Kay would probably have a problem with this aspect or this idea.
I guess
'Cause
I'm
normally
I'm
he just
still
says everything out loud, you know what I mean? Like, "Oh, we need this. Do you
yeah.
have that?"
I don't know why she would have had a problem with it because this was the same device, unless she wants to stop doing all of this. Period.
Yeah.
Like that's it. My son is gone. Let's just walk away from this. Do something else with our lives. That's the only other thing I could think of because you would think she would still be interested. It's technology. It's still working. It's not a weapon. It's not
'Cause
like
they didn't
anything.
really I mean, like, this part made me laugh because he's like, "Yeah, I have it back here," and he just opens the shed door, and it's like this giant
Yeah. Right
device.
there. That's
And
right
he's
next
like,
to it. Yeah.
"Yeah, bro, she had me made like, here we go, another one just lying around." But
Yeah.
he's like, I had to think about things differently with this device." He goes, "We always think about where, I mean, what and where and this and that with this device, but we have to think about time dilation and how Axis Mundi is in a different time than where we are right now. So it's like it's not where you saw Godzilla last, it's when."
And that sounds great, but then how do you control that? Like even later in the episode, they pick the location where they're going, right? And he was like, "Oh, this is where the last time Shaw saw I think it was Godzilla, or he went through or the Rift. I think it's when he saw Rift back in 1982, he brings up. Okay, I get you got to go back there, but how do you know that's the place? How do you know the time? That
Yeah.
I don't whatever. I mean, he has a
Maybe
whole
that's what they
bulletin
were
board,
trying to
right?
read
He
into,
had he
yeah.
had all this stuff. He's been working on this. He's been thinking, but yeah, I think also that's when we could just jump in and get that part out of the way. Kentaro at the bar, right? Because he's there alone. Another girl comes up, perfect English. That's already drawing suspicion, right? From my end. I'm like, come on now. What's the chances? But then again, maybe she was overhearing, which she said she did. It's like, oh, you struck out. That didn't work out. That date, oh, it wasn't a date and whatever. Yeah, whatever. Let's just have a good time. Let's drink. Let's watch some horrible stuff on the TV there because it was showing destruction, all this stuff. It was pretty bad. But I didn't trust her right off the bat. I was like, well, why? No, no. I mean, I understand someone
Yeah,
coming up if they're interested, but it just seemed
and
too
sh
perfect.
and she let it slip too because they were, looking at the TV, and then she was like, "Yeah, like, well, do you get nervous in the face of, like, Titans? Or I bet you're used to it," or something like that. And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, like, I mean," and then he's like, "Wait, like, how do you know I face Titans?" He's like, "Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, man." And then she says that she's the daughter of
Yeah.
Simmons?
Sims, Walter Sims. He's the guy in charge of Apex.
The CEO of Apex.
Yeah, the CEO of Apex, and she was sent to just follow him. Really, they didn't have spies or anyone else. You have to send the boss's daughter for an operation like this. And what, just to watch? What's her credentials on this that she can do something like that? It just whatever.
She's like, don't let Monarch, completely take over everything. Like, let me give you a chance to prove you wrong. And he walks away. He's like, forget that. And as he's walking away, a giant thing smashes through one of the buildings. We see Godzilla just show up out of nowhere.
Yeah, the sirens. He was getting the sirens on his phone.
Yeah, we see this whole thing. I'm like, oh, whoa, what's happening? Then he keeps running into people, and this me and Adam are like, all right, what's going on here? Because he just runs into his mom in the middle of the street. Then he runs into May. Then he runs into Kate, and I'm like, what is this? And Kate's
okay.
He's not trying to hurt us. He's on our side. And they're like, what's going on? And then you see Titan X showing up, and Godzilla's about to fight, and this whole thing, and then Kentaro wakes up.
He wakes up, and that threw me off because we were watching none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. And then he's like, "Oh, okay, this is all a dream." But our question after that was what part was a dream? And was all of it a dream? Was May showing up a dream? Because then that would make perfect sense. Because it was how would she just show up to your place after being in Chile, running with Brenda, to save their lives? And then how did she find out about Hiro's death? I mean, did she stick around? We didn't see that. We saw them haul ass. Yeah, exactly. Did she say, hey, by the way, Hiro died. Here's the address to the funeral if you're going to show up. I don't. That doesn't. Yeah, exactly. None of that makes sense. Whatever.
So then, we jump back in time again, 1958. The day after Lee was drinking with his father, he wakes up, bottles on the table still. He's like, "What's going on?"
Oh, it's empty. He boozed it up.
He gets to try to get to the meeting, and his father's there, and he's like, "Oh no, just come with me. It's okay. I talked to Puckett already." He's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Let's go have breakfast. Let's go eat." So we skip back again, but let's just continue this whole thing. So they go to eat, and he's like, "What do you like? Why did you talk to him? What happened?" And he's like, "I got you somewhere else. You're going to be stationed in Vietnam." He's like, "What?" He's like, "There's a potential for things to happen in that region at some point. You're probably going to see it."
Yeah, as we know, some combat's going to happen, but you're cool with that. You use your skills. You're all right with that. Who does that? Who says? And he even said, "He's like, I'm taking you out of a desk job because he feels it'll be a dead end job in the military for his career and putting him in harm's way." Sorry, but most parents wouldn't do that.
I guess he feels like the politics of it all is going to get him a higher rank. Because he was like, I missed my boat when it had the chance, and I didn't engage in the politics of this career. I just was a little too naive. He's like, and then he was too naive. I find that funny that you think you missed your boat. He's like, and you're acting like I haven't witnessed any action or anything like that. He's like, I've spent the past 5 years encountering monsters and things you could never even imagine in your life. And then his dad screams at him, and he goes, "And what do you have to show for it?"
Right.
What have you
yeah. I mean, got a point there with all of this because he could have just sucked it up and be like, I can be professional about this regarding the whole Kiko thing and just ride it out, just keep working it. But no, he walked away. So it's right. Yeah, that's all out there. You can't bring that out into another part of the military is what I'm getting at, which is why he was doing something else.
But in the same kind of conversation, when him and Zook were finding this machine in the back, they're putting it on the back of a truck, and Kay comes out, and she's like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we found this thing, this phone, Titan phone. We're gonna use to try to, lure something." And she's like, "Why are you doing this? Stop it!" And she even turns to Sean. She's like, "You're not the man that I thought you. You're not the same."
I got this.
Rift to access.
Not right now, no. We just want to know if it's possible.
For what purpose? Why would you risk bringing another Titan into this world?
Godzilla is not just another Titan.
What do you even...
Oh my, Godzilla and Titan, you want them to fight?
Yes, I want them to fight. But hopefully with this, at a place and time that we need.
Are you out of here? They're not attack dogs to be sick on one another.
What if you've got the biggest, baddest dog in the fight?
And I'm sure people watching was like, yeah, this is exactly what we want. What do you mean you don't want to see them fight? We want to see
more
monsters fight. Yes, more, please. Of course.
But he also says, the Titans just want to survive. and we're humans, and we want you to survive. And at the end of the day, it depends on who is at the top, who's has the access to staying at the top for peak survival. And he's like, it doesn't matter, like this and that, and it kind of goes against Monarch's mission in a slight way, but it's the exact words that Lee's father said to him at that dinner.
Yeah.
He yells that at him too after
But
the
it
whole
also
situation.
and it makes sense right now. It is all about survival. And we were joking about it in the last episode when they're like, oh, we have to lure Titan X away from this community. Okay, and then what's going to stop it from going to another busier? Because remember, it was going to San Francisco. So it's like, what, you're not really solving the issue. You're just diverting to other locations. So yeah, eventually
It
we're
matters
gonna
who
have to
wins.
see. Yeah, we're gonna have to see some kind of action. I mean, it's here now. So something has to happen. Another Titan is going to have to deal with this Titan because whatever they have isn't working.
And Dr. Z Suzuki's like, look, like, what if Godzilla does emerge? And then this is where that whole Kentaro scene happened, like right after. So me and Adam were wondering, like, did they just unleash him and he just shows up?
Yeah,
Like, off in
exactly.
this whole place?
Yeah, and I'm sure people watching it were like, "Wait a minute, did they just cut to? Was this a bad edit on their part? Did they not show, Shaw and Zook at the location?" And it was like, "Hey, we summoned Godzilla. He didn't show up here. Oh no, he's in Tokyo." But yeah, it was all right. It's getting to what they need to get to. Just this device and just meeting up with Zook and all this. I get it. I mean, I gave the whole connection with Back to the Future, and it's like, all right, we're needing another device to get to where they need to get to, and that's this. So they're gonna have this device to bring a rift, so then that way they can lure Godzilla through this. And this, like he said, Zook said, the space and the location, the time. Okay, but then how do you get Titan X in the same space and time?
True.
Okay.
Then we jump back to 1958 again. Shaw is now entered his new room at the barracks, I believe in Vietnam. He walks in, goes to turn the light on, the light doesn't turn on. He goes to turn a lamp on, that lamp doesn't turn on. And then he just gets pissed because he's realizing this is just not where he needs to be. Breaks the lamp, and then he, in a different scene, but continuing this story, he shows up back at Monarch in Kiko's office, and he's like, "Look, I'm sorry for showing up unannounced. I hope that's okay." And she's like, "I'm sorry for not fighting for you to stay. I figured, things would be, hard for us." And he's like, "I realize that you guys are fine on your own, but I'm not fine without you guys." And he's like, "And I'm willing to put my feelings aside for the sake of Monarch if you're willing to have me back."
Again, that's a long flight from Vietnam to DC. If it was a direct,
So
but hey, he's there, and he says again. We could just put that maybe days have passed because he was like, "Hey, if the position's not filled," he says it's not. But it would have been funny if it was. I would have loved that. I was like, "Hold on, hey, Tom, can you come out here?" And I was like, "All right, listen, we have an issue. Shaw would like to come back. Maybe you guys can fight it out in the courtyard." It wouldn't happen, but still, that would be funny if somebody else was in that position.
So then something really big happens where Kiko notices that Kate's feet were in the water and it caused like a rippling effect. So she was like, "Wait, I've seen this before when Titan X was near." And she's like, "Yeah, this has been happening like, when I'm near water and stuff. Like, this is what I've been worried about." She's like, "All right, let's go. Let's test this."
Then why are you sitting near the water? Why are you putting your feet in the water? Like, if this is an issue, then you bring it up before you go to the water.
Maybe she's curious. I'll be curious if like every time I dip my toes, it's rippling like that. What's going on?
I would have
But
brought it up. No, it was Kiko who was observant and noticed it. But
yeah,
I would have. Kate was like, "Hey, you want to see something cool? Watch this." It's like, yeah, I got
I
so
think
my
maybe
feet smelled so bad.
maybe Kate's feeling a little
Fish.
weird.
Like,
Obviously, Kate's feeling a little weird, obviously, with her father passing, but she also feels like something's wrong with her. Like, why is she dazing out? What's going on? So maybe at some point she's feeling a little reserved on this issue. But I mean, she speaks up. They go to like this, like I guess like riverside lake thing, and Kate dips her toes in the water, and Kiko has this whole machine thing set up to read the waves. So she feels
Sonar
that.
set up, recorder set up. I'm
So
assuming
it's like
this is all Zook's equipment. And you brought it up. You're like,
it would
where'd she
have to
get
be,
all
yeah.
this?
Like, where they get
Yeah,
this.
she didn't carry this around with her. So
So she dips her feet in. A little signal comes through, and she's like, "I think you have to like fully submerge." So Kate goes in, and we start hearing all these sounds, and then we see like these symbols of like these wave patterns appear on on Kiko's radar, and then she starts recording the sounds, and we hear like a shrieking, of, like a thing in agony, and it's Titan X. And then Kate comes out, and they play the recording, and she's like, "Do you hear that? Like it sounds like it's in pain, and it sounds like it's in agony. I think it's lost."
well, I think that's a good thing. I mean, what else? What would you say? It's like, oh, if it's not lost, because remember they have Billy's track, right? And they sort of screwed that up with the whole thing in Chile. Right? It wasn't a happy visit for Titan X there. So yeah, it's lost because it's breaking away from the pattern. But then maybe it just wanders around. I don't know if it's a pro or a con that it's lost. Is what I'm getting at.
I'm assuming it's a con with the way it's screaming, but
No, it could be a con. But who's it screaming to? Who's it screaming to?
because I guess once it does its migratory pattern or whatever it does, it just goes back. So since it's in a different time and a different, like it's not its usual path, then maybe that's why it's throwing it off, and then maybe that might cause a. Oh, actually, yeah, that might cause a problem because it's before it was kind of just chill. It just stuck to its thing. Maybe
Because it
it
seems
being
like it
lost
had the
might bring it
pattern.
back.
Once it goes to Chile, it does this whole little thing with all the little ones, right?
The
And
rift
it
is probably
attaches to it,
closed.
and then it heads back to Skull Island, right?
I'm
In
assuming
that
there's a
area, and
rift that
that's
it
where there's
shows
a
up. There's a rift that opens up again for it to exit.
uh,
So maybe it went back to see if that rift was
could
open
be
again, and it wasn't because it was the wrong time.
long time. Yeah, back in time. A lot of time
Well,
in this. A lot of time.
one thing that we left out from when Shaw was in the office, Kiko was like, "Oh, I got a perfect mission for you. Like, we're gonna go to Kazakhstan
Mm-hmm.
because there's something going on with a power plant over there." And this is
That's when we lose her. Yeah, that's when that whole
yeah,
thing happens. So that's
that's
it.
awesome.
Now we've connected to that point in time in the past. So we're like, okay, now we know that their next mission goes kaput and it causes problems.
So Zook and Lee, they're setting up this thing by the mountain where they feel like the rift was previously, and they have a whole conversation about how Shaw has to get a little closer to the rift in order to what they said he was a conduit, so he could
Mhm.
get a reading of whatever comes through.
That wasn't needed because he's just standing there with this device. You could have just left it on the ground and just like let it do its thing. Just
True.
put it really close and then back away. But because he said he's like, go a little closer. Okay, just stand there. There you go. That's it.
Well, they turned the machine on, and I see on the screen there was the same pattern, the same like wave or almost like circular like shapes that was on the same. That was the same pattern that Kiko had when Kay was running the tests. Unless that's
Mm.
just the standard shape that shows up on the screen, but Zook.
That's what the special effect team could afford. And they were like, hey, we already paid for this animation. We're going to use it on both devices. No, but I'm sure it's intentional. I'm sure that gives that signal. When that thing pops up, it's like the bat signal. Once you see the bat signal, you know what's going on, right? Calling for Batman.
Yeah.
Well, when this happens, this is summoning a Titan of some sort.
So a rift opens up. We see the same lights from Axis Mundi that we've seen before, and Shaw's like, "Oh, do you see that?" And he goes like to read. Like, I mean, he was getting sucked in at first, so he was like, "Shut the machine off! Shut the machine off!" Like, I'm getting sucked in, and then he's like, I turned it off already, but some residual light was coming through. So he reaches out and he's like, "Do you see this?" Now we only saw some bright lights. So I don't know what if Shaw saw something different, but it was just like the same lights that were coming from the rift. And then I think we have the audio for what happens next,
Yeah.
which is kind of wild.
Who is this? Who am I speaking to?
Major Leland Lafayette shot at third. My crew's dead. Vehicle is damaged. My fuses run out. Control. I need an extraction.
He's talking to himself. So it's got to be a different time, right?
Is it his
It's got
younger
to
self? Is it his older self? Is it himself?
because it says that he's lost his crew. He needs an extraction.
Yeah.
All right. From what we understand, the show's never had anything like that. Now, they could bring that up later on in the next episode, and it's like, oh, what was that? It's like, oh, this is me. I remember. And then they could do another time, 1954 or something, before he met Kiko and stuff, because he's been in the military. He wasn't, fresh out of boot camp when he joined them. So it could be that, or it could be just he's just talking to a multiverse situation. It's like, oh, this is what that rift brings up. It's like a different version of him. What's the chances? What's the chances of that? On the walkie-talkie, that out of all the people to talk to, you're talking to yourself.
Yeah. What if, like, when you go through that rift initially, he's never been there before, right? He's never been, aside from the last time that he was stuck in Access Mundi. He wasn't there when he was younger, right?
He went through. Remember, and first he went through, and then he came because he was trying to find Kiko, and then he went through, and then that whole thing, and then he came back and he tried to explain to the military what happened, and they said he was crazy.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And they put him,
You're right,
they locked him away for 30 years. So maybe it could be linked with that, if that's the case. But then, how is he picking up the audio? I don't know. There's more to it, and there we go. We have another question. Another question needs answers, because, like you said before, he's like, wow, did you see that? And Zook's like, no. And then we're like, no, we didn't. What did you see? And maybe in the next episode, they'll show from his point of view. And then maybe
Because
he
time
does
moves
see.
really slow in Access Mundi, but super fast here.
Yeah.
So it's like he's accessing whatever he was when he was there at that time to reach this time.
We'll have to wait.
That's trippy.
We'll have to wait and see. It is trippy. But overall, this was definitely another filling episode of progressing the story, but it kind of slow. But we get where they're going with this whole thing. And hey, if anyone saw like the trailers or anything for the episode, like, oh, Godzilla fight, I mean, you saw that's what was there. It was just that one scene, and it wasn't even real.
That was
cool.
A
dream.
I'm hoping for more of that.
Well, the one
it's not like we just need action all the time.
No. Exactly. It's just how to progress in the story and put it in places. And then that's one of the other things is that Isabella, when she did come clean to Kentaro at the bar, and she's like, oh yeah, just give me a chance. And so they're like, no, and he was out. That wasn't a dream. That part wasn't a dream. Because then when he went back to go visit his dad at the gravesite, he calls her up and he's willing to give her a chance to hear her out. So I'm like,
prove me wrong.
Yeah, it proved me wrong. So I guess after that, from all the drinks, then he stumbled out and made his way home. Because then now it's because that was the other part. We weren't sure how much of this was a dream. When he woke up, was it the whole thing?
Perfectly with like unleashing Godzilla and stuff, because I was like, no way in hell he just came out of nowhere like this.
So May showing up in Japan, not a dream. Hanging out at the bar that's now under new ownership, not a dream. Apex daughter, the CEO's daughter, following him and hired to follow him, kind of odd, whatever, not a dream. She put her number in his phone, not a dream. That would have been cool if they would have shown, because we only saw that scene where he woke up, sees his mom. It's like, oh man, if he would have looked at his phone and then just saw her name and number, like a quick cut, like, oh man, how much of that was a dream? But hey, whatever. We'll see where it goes with that, so. But hey, I think he's moving on from May. I think that's dead in the water. That's it, right? Ta-da! At least
May is probably going to be with Kate soon, so.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. Kate's got a lot of issues. She's dealing with the Titan, talking and things. Oh no, she might leave and go to the other space and time and just start a whole new life. I don't know. I can see that happening. But hey, if you made this far, thank you, people. Thank you for the likes, the hypes, the subs, the follows, the shares, and all that. And just let us know. What do you think? Are you watching Monarch Legacy of Monsters? Are you telling anybody about it? Because we don't know. We don't know. I see some chatter here and there. I'm always looking, not from here, but just other outlets. And it's almost crickets with this. I get it. There's a lot of good content out there, a lot of good shows. But this is different. We always talk about it. This is a monster show. There's not many monster shows, if any, really, especially not with known IPs like Godzilla, Kong, Titan X. So
until you tell me about it, and now I'm glad to.
I mean, all the time. I feel like a broken record whenever I tell somebody this, and I get the same damn answer. What are you talking about?
Or the fact that it's connected to like Kong Skull Island and all those movies.
Connected to all that? Yeah. Nobody. But hey, if you made us, thank you again. We appreciate it. We got other shows going on here. We're still covering Marshals. We got from MGM Plus the horror show that's coming back. We're recording that. That'll be ready for April 19th. That's when that drops. And yeah, that's it. We'll be back next week with episode 7. People, thank you. Peace.
Thank you.